just move it around.
All right.
So, I got some questions here just to help me out,
Sounds good.
but I might just like go with what I feel. So you obviously seem like you are quite into like artful things.
No, not in particular.
Dang, but you got all kinds of art on you, dude.
I know. Well, this is my fiance's shirt that she gave me. It just doesn't fit her, so she gave it to me.
Okay.
And then this hat I had since 8 years old.
Really?
And then the tattoos and stuff. A lot of people I know just had tattoos, and I was 18 years old, and I was like, I want tattoos. So,
Cool.
I mean, I can appreciate art, but you know.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I need a jumping off point. So are you like, would you say science can like solve everything we need it to solve, like everything in general?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's an example of I can't remember his name, but in math there was a guy who proved basically that with like, before him everybody thought that you could either prove or disprove something with math proofs, right? The deduction, right?
Yeah.
The reasoning. I forget the actual like.
Gödel's incompleteness theorem?
I think so, maybe. But basically, yeah, just
Yeah.
states that not everything. There are things that cannot be proved or disproved in math. So.
Yeah.
I guess so.
I actually took a whole class about that last semester.
Did you? That's sick.
It was pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not talking to the microphone. Yeah, so I guess I have a follow-up question then, because when I took that class, the teacher, Dustin Tucker, I basically asked the question, I'm like, okay, this shows that math isn't like epistemologically reliable because it can't be complete and sound at the same time. And as soon as you have it sound, then it's not complete, and as soon as it's complete, it's unsound. That's basically how the theorem works. But he was like, it doesn't matter. He said it doesn't matter because we can build a bunch of cool stuff. I mean, he said a different word than stuff. He said we can build a bunch of cool shit. Why does it matter? And so I'm going to ask you that question. Does it matter if math is epistemologically valid if we can just build a bunch of cool stuff with it?
Oh man, I don't know. Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Sure, it matters on some level. I think.
Why does it matter?
Man, I don't know. I would just do it on a case-by-case basis. I mean, like, all right, so I'm going to be a mechanical engineer, right?
Yeah.
All right, so in what I'm going to specialize in, it doesn't matter. And just in the lifetime that I have, I need to focus on the things that are relevant to that if I want to be great in that, I guess.
Okay.
But if you were going to go and challenge that in general, if you were going to go just for higher math, I suppose you would need to take a good look at it. I mean, I guess I haven't thought about it that much, so I can't give you a great answer as to why it matters. I mean, I didn't even remember the name of the theorem.
Oh, it's just a guy. His name is Gödel.
Yeah?
He made
Okay.
it up. He didn't make it up, but he did it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But I can think of an example where it doesn't matter. But obviously, like, it has to matter on some level just because there are, that could be your field of expertise or whatever.
Yeah.
Just focusing on that.
I guess I was just asking the question, like, because do you know what I mean when I say epistemology?
Not 100%, no.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't probably 100% know what I mean, but epistemology is the study of knowledge, the study of what is knowledge and what constitutes knowledge.
Okay.
So what is, like, actually true about the world. And so what I was trying to say is, like, if math isn't a proper method to understand real things about the world, but I asked this question, I'm like, okay, well, we can't understand real things about the world, so shouldn't we try to figure that out? It's like, oh no, it doesn't matter. We can build cool stuff.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering, to what degree does understanding the true nature of the world matter if we can build really cool stuff, even if it's not epistemologically sound, if you know what I'm saying?
Okay. How much does it matter?
Yeah, like how much does it matter if we can actually understand the true nature of the universe? If we can just build cool stuff and be like pretty materially comfortable, like have a bunch of inventions that make us comfortable.
Okay. I think it matters because, like, obviously that's what you want to shoot for, is to just try and get as much of an understanding as you can, right? Why?
Yeah.
I think that's how you can just continue building even cooler stuff. I mean, in simple terms,
Okay.
I guess It's hard to say. I mean, once again, I think whenever it comes to big stuff like this, in order to not break my brain, I just try to compress it into something where it's like, okay, what are my values? Where do I think a lot of people's values lie? If a lot of people's values lie in, like, the pursuit of knowledge and stuff, which is what I think they do, I can imagine that it's important to try and find, it is important trying to understand that truth. But obviously there are people who don't. I don't think there's an objective answer to it. I think it's important to me because that is what I believe, I guess, to try and learn as much as you can.
Take it off, Lucas. Yep.
Yeah. See you. But yeah, that's a very hard question, honestly. Yeah, I don't have a satisfying answer at all. Yeah. I think I can say that it matters to me for that reason, for my personal beliefs.
Okay.
But definitely, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. So it matters to you, like trying to understand the real nature of things.
Sure.
And you might have already answered this a bit, but does it matter to you? Like, why does it matter to you exactly? I think you touched on it, but.
Just because, man, to put it into words why I find it important, I don't know if I could do that right now. Like why I believe that, or not why I find it important. One second. I think I'm just naturally curious, but like why that is, I really couldn't tell you. Why I find it, I guess, important to just try and learn things. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could, it could just be because that's what's been ingrained in me, or maybe it's like some natural curiosity.
Yeah.
That's just like in a person. Yeah, but I guess I really haven't thought about exactly why it's important to me to try and have knowledge. Yeah, off the cuff, I would say it's just something I was born with. So maybe it's a nature thing. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. So that's a really hard question, man.
Yeah, you're throwing some hard balls at me.
Yeah. So it might be innate, just like born into you, or it might be like trained in you. It's kind of the nature versus nurture debate is complicated because usually it just ends up being both.
Right.
But if you were to say like why do I want to learn things, would it be more along the lines of I want to get a career so I can make good money, or would it be more along the lines of I want to learn knowledge for knowledge's sake? Like, what would be the answer to that?
Knowledge for knowledge's sake, definitely, which is why I don't have I think that's why the idea or my answer is abstract, is because I really don't know why. It's just for knowledge's sake, In the same way with work, I'm okay with just working for work's sake. It's interesting to me.
Is there something about truth that sets us free in a way?
Not necessarily.
Okay, because I know that's kind of a traditional idiom.
I can think of examples where that idiom would be true, like the truth about I don't know, I'm just trying to off the cuff. The truth could allow you to make a decision more accurately. I think there was some thought experiment. Oh, a good example is if you had a terminal cancer, would you want to know? And it's the truth about it would allow you to actually make a fair decision about or an informed decision about how you want to live the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, you would have more real freedom, I guess. But I think also it could confine somebody, I guess. Maybe just okay. If it's true that there's nothing definite, it's sort of also been a previous topic that we talked about, right? That I guess that would be limiting. Right, that would confine how much you can know. I guess if you believe nothing is objective, that confines how confident you could be in something, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So, do you think if math is not a reliable computational method in order to uncover what is objective, do you think that is more evidence to say that nothing is? Or is there a different way to approach the world that isn't computational?
I might have misunderstood what that guy was saying originally, because my understanding of it was just that there are some mathematical proofs that just can't be definitively answered. Like, you can't definitively prove that something equals something in some cases, right? So that was my understanding of it. I think that, so I guess I don't know that much about that.
It is complicated. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on it. My understanding of it is that math, and you can leave whenever you want, by the way. Yeah,
I get that.
But my understanding of it is that math in general can't be, like, with all of its, axioms and all of the formulas that are discovered, it can't be complete in the sense that we found everything.
Okay.
And it, at the same time, be sound as to where everything makes sense and there's no contradictions.
Okay.
Right? So those things can't happen at the same time. And if it's sound, then we haven't found everything. But if we found everything, then it isn't sound.
So in terms of because with math, right, like, you can definitively prove that some things equal some things, but it sounds like you're saying that you can't prove everything in general. Like, you can't get the understanding of everything with math. Okay, no, that makes sense.
So it seems that there's a intrinsic limitation
Yes.
with math, and that it can't really give us everything we might want to. Because I think it's valid in my estimation to say math is sort of the engine of science.
Okay.
And a lot of people see science as what's going to give us everything. But with those certain discoveries, it seems like there's a hard limitation on how much it can give us. And when I asked my philosophy teacher, he says it doesn't really matter because we can make a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And you were telling me it does matter to you because of some kind of innate curiosity. You want to know what's really there. And I'm just wondering if there's any other methods besides math that would be a good contender for that. Like philosophy maybe is there. Would you say that's there or no?
Oh, as an example, would philosophy be one route to that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And math and philosophy are kind of intertwined.
Yeah, I mean, there's like logic classes, right? It's pretty much the same type of reasoning. It's just one's with numbers, one's with words. Yeah, I mean, within this conversation, there have been questions that I don't know if anyone could ever get to the bottom to. So I don't know if you could ever find out everything through any method. Although at the same time, I mean, who knows? I mean, if people survive, for thousands of years, way into the future, I mean, things that you and I could never imagine will be possible. So I can't see it. I definitely can't see that that's possible. But anything is possible. If I had to guess, I would say no, I guess. Yeah. I think there will always be uncertainties.
Okay, and that's kind of a real weird question. So, I'm sorry if I'm getting too complicated, too technical, because I might be losing myself. So I'll just ask you this question. It's a bit more straightforward. Also not straightforward, but it leads off of what we just said. Do you think that, like, there are things that we can't know? Or do you, like...
Yeah.
There are things that no matter what happens, we just cannot know.
Yeah, I would believe that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I would believe that. Definitely. Okay. I mean, like I said, I mean, who knows? In the very distant future, who knows? But isn't there, like, man, what is it with electrons and quantum mechanics? Like, you can't actually even definitively know where an electron is at any given point in space. You can only model it as like a function of probability, right?
Yeah.
There's something along those lines there. So in that example, and that is proven science, but like down the line, I guess it could be contradicted. Yeah. It's hard. I can't imagine it because things have stood for incredible amounts of time that were proven by like ancient mathematicians, right? Yeah. So it would have to be just such a long stretch of time in like the way far, far future that it is way beyond my imagining that we can definitively prove things like that and definitively know those things. And if things like that exist, obviously there are some things that you cannot know.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think is most important?
Important? What do you mean? In life? Just in general? Oh man, I don't know. Jeez. I thought I was prepared for this, and then I was like, oh, man. I'm just going to ramble. I realized, like, after the first or second question, like, I'm just going to be rambling and, like, lost.
I hope you're not too lost.
No, yeah. Damn. I haven't thought about anything like this in some time. I've just been doing my stuff. What's most important? Jeez. If I had to sum it, maybe just doing the best you can. If I had to put it in like a sentence, yeah,
Okay.
that's what comes to mind now, because that is very all-encompassing, and I do base a lot of my life around that.
Okay. And what is important enough to warrant that much effort?
To warrant what much effort?
Doing your best.
Oh, doing your best? Anything and everything. Yeah, at all times, basically, I think is the most important thing. I don't think that's achievable, but I think that's what you want to shoot for.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody can do their best always, but
Well, maybe that's their best.
yeah, just always trying to shoot for the best you can, I think, at anything you do. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So it's just a matter of, like, the most important thing is just maximum effort with your life.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So do you think you find the most joy in those moments of effort?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think trying to be happy is also where I'm going with this is that trying to be happy is difficult, but that also is encompassed by, like, trying your best. It's very. It sounds stupid. It's like, oh, well, don't be sad. Try to be happy. But it is like, you know, for me, doing your best also includes, like, doing your best to do things that are good for you and make you happy. I mean, recently in life, I've really tried to just narrow down to that. Because I have not had answers to the questions that we've talked about. I've really tried to focus and narrow down. And I think that has become the most important to me, is just trying to do my best. And from that, I can be sort of split into two groups. Is it good for me, and does it make me happy? And, you know, extensions of that, does it make other people around me happy, that I want to be happy and stuff. But yeah, that's sort of, yeah, my code. And so, yeah, being happy is a part of doing my best. They're intertwined, yeah.
Okay, so they're kind of one and the same.
Yeah.
Is either of them more important than the other, or are they kind of on the same ground somehow? They're kind of like almost the same thing?
What, doing your best and being happy? Is one more important than the other? I would say being happy is a general rule for me. Yeah, I believe that, but I think it depends. But yeah, I mean, I think if you can be happy and thriving with very little, yeah, I think I would consider that to be pretty successful, and I would think I would respect that person. And because of that, it's like I think being happy, like truly happy, not in a superficial way. I mean, what does truly happy mean? I mean, I would quantify it long-term sustainable happiness. Yeah, like Diogenes or whatever, right?
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's pretty respectable. I mean, it's sort of ridiculous, but it is like, some about it, I'm definitely just like, man, being happy with so little.
I want to make sure it's still recording.
Yeah, you're good. Do your thing.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah, so being happy.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's some psychological evidence to suggest that the dopaminergic system, which regulates your dopamine, which is in some sense what most people mean when they say happy. It's like, I have a lot of dopamine in my system, I feel very good.
Yeah.
Is that might or might not, and you can qualify that, but it seems to be closely related to pursuing a goal and seeing progress made towards that goal. Right. So people without goals usually are depressed.
Yeah.
So, like something like that.
Okay.
So, and I feel like you kind of outlined that. You said you have to try your best, usually towards a particular goal, and that, in a sense, produces happiness. But if happiness is the goal, then what should we do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. If happiness is the goal, it's all about setting goals, right? I think you need to shoot for things that make you happy, right?
And do you agree with my definition of happiness? Because I might not agree with
Sure, I mean, for the argument, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that definition for now. If your goal is happiness, how do you reach it? I think it would be done by identifying things that make you happy, right? And I think somebody's answer to that, a common one I hear to poke a hole in that is like, well, heroin makes you happy. It does. But it's not long term. It definitely won't. And that's sort of, like I said, I go back to my belief of like, is it good for me? And does it make me happy? That's what I do. And it almost always leads to happiness long term, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's how I go about it, is think about things that are good for me. Oftentimes doing things that are good for you make you feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who's like got major depression, like clinically depressed, doing things that are good for them might not make them feel good, but that would extend into getting therapy and getting on medication if that helps you, you know? So in the context of somebody who maybe has like some affective disorder, the definition of what is good for them and what makes them feel good is different. So it's a case-by-case basis, but I'm going to stop trying to ramble here. To some, if your goal is to be happy, you should first focus on things that will benefit you. And if those things also make you happy, stick with them. And hopefully the happiness follows. And if it doesn't, try something else.
Okay. Okay.
Sure. I've just got a review session. Yeah, 5 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah. So what if someone is just like they don't know what makes them happy, and like maybe it comes sometimes, maybe it doesn't, and they want to pursue certain goals, but they just feel like this world is kind of pointless. Like it just feels like there's no purpose.
Hey guys,
How's it going?
what's up with you?
It's a let's question.
What's the question?
I'm just asking them, dude. Yeah, I'm like just interviewing people.
Oh,
Yeah, I might have time if you want after Ethan hops off.
Yeah, I'll head out in like 5-10 minutes. It's up to you.
Yeah.
okay. I'll be around.
Okay. So they just feel like this world is purposeless, and they can't really find a goal that's sufficient enough to make them or to pursue, or they can't even understand what would make them happy, because it seems like they're gonna die and the heat death is gonna happen, and there's just no point to anything.
Yeah, real nihilistic.
Yeah, they've been consumed by nihilism.
Okay.
What would you say to that person?
Well, I guess if nothing matters, right, and everything just feels so hopeless, I mean, you're in a hole at that point, right? I think you got to try your hardest to just start shooting. I mean, there's nowhere to go at that point except random. If you really can't think of anything like consciously, like I want to do this or that, you sort of just got to start. Trying things. I mean, dude, I've known a lot of people in that kind of hole. I've been in that kind of hole. And I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't even know how I got here. I just randomly started taking classes at a community college and found out I'm pretty good with numbers and stuff and decided to go to school. But before that, man, dude, I was totally, I pretty much share that exact same sentiment. I was very much on drugs. And at the time, even drinking just a ton. And I had accepted basically that like I'll probably die within these next few years or be locked up for at least a decade, just doing things I shouldn't be doing, right? But I mean, I decided sort of like I had a program that I could go and take classes, and I took a calculus class and I did really well in it, and I've just gone from there. I mean, I've tried up until that point. I had tried a million things to try and feel better. I went to therapy, and I did meds and stuff, and I had tried to get sober and whatnot, and just none of it worked. A lot of things that people tell you will work did not work for me, and then I just kept trying things, and one day something did, and it felt good, and it was good for me, and I went with that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it sounds like what helped you, and that's an awesome story, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
It sounds like what helped you is like pursuing a goal that was bigger than you, or bigger than just like trying to find a sort of superficial happiness in the world of drugs or impulse, something like that.
Sort of. I mean, at the time, I did not think big. I really didn't. I think bigger now. I think about what I want to do in the industry as an engineer. I think about maybe coming back to school and focusing on pure math, actually. Maybe game theory and stuff. But in those moments, no. I took calculus, I did well, and I was like, oh, that made me feel good. Took calculus too. And then, I mean, honestly, I'm so scattered actually with my curriculum right now, between like ranging from like 100 to 300 level classes, because I've just done so many random classes trying to find myself. And eventually I was able to derive a greater goal out of it. But at the time when I was so lost, I just knew that was, like I said, it met those two criteria for me. It was a positive influence in my life, and it was making my life a lot better and put me in a good direction. So even though I knew nothing, and I still couldn't even think big picture for like 2 years probably, I just kept doing that. And eventually you can reach a point where you can be like, I'm going to pursue something bigger than myself, something that will span my life possibly. That comes later. So
That's awesome. Do you still think that like everything's ultimately pointless though? Or
man, maybe. Yeah, probably. But I think a big part of, and sort of why I suspect that, so in the past, I thought about those questions that we were talking about at first a lot, right? Like big picture things. And I did feel that, like, there's so many uncertainties, things are pointless, big picture. And I still sort of believe that they are, but I realize that you can't live your life that way. And I think, come to accept that even if I'm sort of turning a blind eye to harsh realities of the world and harsh realities about nature, like things might be pointless, I need to stay sane and possibly accomplish something. I need to think small, think about sort of what can I control, what can I know, instead of something like, does what I do even matter? In the moment, if I feel like, I hate this, I'm not making a difference, this isn't good for me, sure, get away from it. But like big picture, way down the line, are people going to remember me? I don't know. And honestly, I can't afford to care, or else it will put me in a hole. So
maybe the answer is, hey, I just want to put food on my table and pursue something that's meaningful, and it doesn't really matter. Okay. So I've been considering that, like, that kind of point of view. I'm wondering if that produces any kind of like cognitive dissonance. Do you know what that is?
I forget. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, it's kind of
know.
I'm a psychology major, so it's like,
okay,
it's kind of in my wheelhouse. But
nice.
It's essentially when you believe two contradicting things at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a problem for you, or how do you get around that?
No. I've learned to just set it aside, in the same way that I can be okay with not knowing big existential questions nowadays. I can be okay with being wrong or having like contradictory opinions in that sense. I mean, yeah. Man, I don't understand quantum physics that well, but what was it? I mean, you've done philosophy and psychology courses, so you would probably understand Schrodinger's cat and whatnot. Yeah. My understanding is that it's designed to sort of represent the absurdity of how we talk about how we consider certain things in quantum physics, where they exist in two states at once, possibly, I think it's two positions at once, right? And it's absurd, and that was sort of the point of the thought experiment, I think. But, like, I'm okay with that absurdity. I mean, yeah, if that's how it has to be, and it seems that it will be that way. For as long as I'm alive, I think that will be a paradox that, like, I sort of believe that it is probably all pointless, but I'm not really concerned with it, and I'm just going to do my stuff. Yeah, I have learned to be okay with that contradiction. And it was like a conscious, like, sort of decision in, like, training of living in the moment, because once again, not thinking that way, not being able to focus on the present, made me very miserable. So, yeah.
Fair enough. I don't want to give anyone any existential crises.
Yeah.
You seem like a pretty strong guy, though.
Huh? Me?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know.
But I'm asking hard questions. Yeah. Well, that's so you get around it essentially by just a decision you made to not, like, let it get in your way.
Sort of. I mean, if nothing matters, what does it matter if I turn a blind eye to it? I mean, sort of, yeah. I mean, I guess the actual process of how it went in hindsight was, I was like, nothing matters. You know, my life is worthless. I can never make an actual significant impact on anything. And at the end of the day, it's not going to matter if I die. It doesn't matter if I live or die. Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what happens to me, like what people do to me. And then from that, you know, just like nothing matters. Oh man, did I lose my train of thought? If nothing matters and who cares, why can't I just, like, basically ignore that? You know, nothing matters, who cares, why should I?
Well, because if you're living your daily life and you're pursuing those goals, don't you have to pretend that they matter in order to pursue them?
No, I just enjoy it. I mean, maybe I pretend that my enjoyment matters, you know. I just enjoy it. It's a passion of mine. I like being here. I like taking classes. I wish I could just take classes for the rest of my life. But I also like working as an engineer, so that's a close second. No, I don't. I'm really not concerned whether or not it matters. I'm concerned just with, like, this feels right. And yeah, that's sort of where I was going with that. It's like, if it doesn't matter, why not just do something that feels right in the moment, right? Yeah.
That's really cool, actually. Yeah, I guess it's just about, like, pursuing what you deem as feeling the most meaningful in the long run. Because something might feel happy or meaningful in the short term, but oftentimes it leads you into a pit.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do after you become an engineer? I mean, this isn't a personal thing. I don't know. Yeah. So, like, what do you think is the biggest goal to pursue?
The biggest goal to pursue?
Yeah, like, after you become an engineer, what's next? Like, what in what state of being would be the most meaningful?
The most meaningful?
Like, where do you want to be?
Pretty much, I just want to maintain what I've got going right now. I mean, yeah, I'm happy, and I'm on a trend basically of continuing that, you know. I mean, obviously there's hiccups and stuff, but it's like an overall trend. Things are going up for me, and I think that's just what I want to do, is continue to learn and grow. I mean, big picture, what state of being? Just being a constant state of growth and, like, of growth. I think that makes people feel good, and sort of like I've laid out, I think that's sort of what I value most. If nothing matters, might as well be happy for it. And I think the best way to do that is that state of constant improvement.
All right, I ran out of questions. I can't think of one.
That's just in time. I gotta go. 4 minutes is the review.
All right.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, dude.
Asking the big questions today.
Yeah, I hope that I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem.